Imagine walking through the sun-drenched landscapes of ancient Israel, where almond trees were the first to awaken from winter's slumber, their delicate white blossoms heralding the arrival of spring. These remarkable trees, known in Hebrew as shaked, meaning watchful or awakening one, play a pivotal role in some of Scripture's most profound moments. Their early blooming nature made them perfect symbols of God's vigilance and swift action, a living metaphor that would become central to biblical narrative. As we journey through Scripture together, we'll discover how these humble nuts appeared at crucial moments in biblical history. From their role in the construction of the golden lampstand in the Tabernacle to their appearance in Jeremiah's prophetic visions, almonds have served as silent witnesses to God's interaction with His people. The story of Aaron's rod is one of the most remarkable displays of divine authority in Scripture. Found in the book of Numbers, chapter 17, this event takes place during a time of crisis and rebellion among the Israelites. Some were questioning Aaron's right to priesthood, challenging the leadership of both Moses and Aaron. To settle this dispute once and for all, God commanded Moses to take 12 rods, one from each tribe of Israel, with Aaron's rod representing the tribe of Levi. Each leader's name was written on their rod, and all 12 were placed in the tabernacle of meeting before the Ark of the Covenant. The instruction was simple yet profound, "And it shall be that the rod of the man whom I choose will blossom." Next morning, when Moses went into the tabernacle, he found something extraordinary. Aaron's rod had not only sprouted and put forth buds, but it had produced blossoms and even yielded ripe almonds, all overnight. This miracle was multi-layered in its significance. The transformation of a dead wooden staff into a living, fruit-bearing branch demonstrated God's power over life and death. But why almonds specifically? The almond tree is known as the earliest tree to blossom in Israel, often blooming as early as January. Its Hebrew name, shaked, shares the same root as the word for watching or hastening. Through this choice, God was sending a clear message. He was watchful over His priesthood and swift to confirm His chosen servants. The miracle served multiple purposes. It validated Aaron's priesthood beyond any doubt, showing God's divine selection. It demonstrated God's ability to bring life from death, a theme that would later find its ultimate fulfillment in the resurrection of Christ. And it established a lasting connection between the priesthood and the symbolism of the almond, which would be reflected in other elements of the tabernacle, particularly in the design of the golden lampstand with its almond-shaped cups. God commanded that Aaron's rod be kept in the Ark of the Covenant as a lasting testament against rebellion, alongside the tablets of the law and a pot of manna. These three items represented God's authority, provision, and chosen priesthood, foundational elements of His covenant relationship with Israel. The symbolism of almonds in Scripture goes far beyond their appearance in Aaron's miracle. One of the most significant representations of almonds in the tabernacle was found in the menorah, the sacred seven-branched lampstand. According to Exodus 25, God gave specific instructions for its design. Each branch was to be decorated with almond-shaped bowls, complete with buds and flowers. This wasn't merely decorative. The menorah's almond-shaped cups held the oil that provided continuous light in the holy place. Just as the almond tree is the first to awaken in spring, its light piercing through winter's darkness, the menorah's almond-shaped bowls contained the oil that illuminated the darkness of the sanctuary. This connection between almonds and divine light carries profound spiritual significance. In ancient Near Eastern culture, the almond's early blooming represented alertness and readiness. This symbolism reaches its fullest expression in the book of Jeremiah, where God uses an almond branch in a powerful vision. When He asks Jeremiah what he sees, the prophet replies, "I see a branch of an almond tree." God responds, "You have seen well, for I am watching over my word to perform it." This wordplay in Hebrew between almond, shaked, and watching, shoked, reveals God's vigilant nature and His faithfulness in fulfilling His promises. The almond's journey from flower to fruit also carries deep spiritual meaning. Unlike many fruit trees, the almond tree's flowers appear before its leaves. making its blossoming a pure act of faith, flowering even before the leaves can provide sustenance. This characteristic made almonds a perfect symbol of spiritual trust and divine providence. In Jewish tradition, the almond came to represent God's promise of redemption and renewal. Its quick flowering period of just a few weeks mirrors God's swift action in fulfilling His word. The hard shell protecting the precious kernel within was seen as representing divine truth, requiring effort and dedication to access, but offering rich rewards to those who persevere. The symbolism of divine watchfulness, first established through the almond, weaves through many other biblical narratives. While the almond tree stands as nature's watchman in the physical realm, Scripture reveals how this vigilance reflects God's character in multiple ways. In the Psalms, we find echoes of this divine watchfulness. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and His ears are open to their cry. Like the almond tree that remains ready and alert through the winter, God maintains His constant vigil over His people. This imagery of divine alertness appears in the Song of Songs, where the beloved is described as going down to the garden of nuts to see whether the vine had budded and the pomegranates were in bloom, a picture of God's attentive care for His people's spiritual growth. The theme of watchfulness extends into the New Testament, where believers are repeatedly called to watch and pray. This spiritual alertness mirrors the natural alertness of the almond tree, calling God's people to remain spiritually awake and ready. Just as the almond tree's early blooming requires perfect timing and readiness, spiritual vigilance demands a state of constant preparation. In ancient Jewish tradition, this concept of watchfulness became central to understanding God's relationship with Israel. The sages taught that just as the almond tree is swift to blossom, God is swift to fulfill both His promises and His judgments. This understanding brought both comfort in times of distress and sobriety in times of rebellion. The almond tree's significance in biblical times was deeply rooted in its unique characteristics and its vital role in ancient Near Eastern culture. Native to the Middle East, Prunus amygdalus was one of the earliest domesticated fruit trees, thriving in the rocky hillsides and well-drained soils of ancient Israel. The almond's agricultural cycle made it particularly special. Blooming as early as January, when other trees remained dormant, its white or pale pink blossoms would transform the winter landscape into a scene of breathtaking beauty. This early flowering, occurring even before the tree produces leaves, made it a powerful symbol of resurrection and renewal in ancient cultures. In the biblical land, almonds were more than just spiritual symbols. They were considered one of the land's most precious fruits. In Genesis 43, when Jacob sends his sons to Egypt during the famine, he instructs them to take the best fruits of the land to the Egyptian ruler, specifically including almonds among these choice gifts. This reveals their status as a premium commodity in ancient trade. The cultivation of almonds required careful attention and patience. From flowering to harvest took about 7 to 8 months, teaching ancient farmers the virtues of patience and trust. The hard shells of almonds also made them ideal for storage and travel, allowing them to become valuable trade items along ancient routes connecting Israel with Egypt and Mesopotamia. Archaeological discoveries have revealed almond remains in ancient sites throughout Israel, including ceremonial bowls decorated with almond motifs. These findings confirm the biblical accounts of their cultural importance and widespread use. The discovery of almond wood fragments in ancient wells and the presence of almond pollen in archaeological layers further testify to their cultivation throughout biblical history. As we conclude our journey through the biblical significance of almonds, we're reminded that God continues to speak through His creation. The same almond trees that flowered in ancient Israel still bloom today, carrying the same message of God's faithfulness, perfect timing, and watchful care over His people. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of biblical symbolism. If these ancient truths have inspired you, please subscribe to our channel for more insights into biblical symbols and their timeless meanings. Share this video with someone who might find encouragement in these profound spiritual truths. And don't forget to like and comment below with your own thoughts about the almond's sacred symbolism.